My name is Tim Conlon, and I lead engineering and innovation for Snap Circuits. And today we've got a really fantastic episode talking about how we can execute and bring to life a STEAM program really on a shoestring with not a ton of resources, but lots of creativity. And we have a guest. She's fantastic. Her name is Amber MacDonald. And she is an engineering educator with almost 20 years of experience, not just in the US, but across 3 different continents. So, a fantastic perspective. She teaches in Brooklyn, New York. And after her public school received a big federal magnet grant focused on engineering, she actually stepped into a newly created role with no set scope, no curriculum, and she's helped to create a school-wide engineering program that serves every student from pre-K all the way up to 5th grade. And she teaches engineering directly to these students. She designs hands-on learning experiences that emphasize problem solving, iterative development, creative thinking using really simple, low-cost materials. She has great collaborations and partnerships, and she really focuses on making engineering accessible, engaging, and sustainable in real classrooms and brings it to life in a very authentic way. So, Amber, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. So, welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And you're in Brooklyn, New York, the big city, right?
Yes, I am.
That's great. So I gave a little bit of introduction, but I think it'd be fantastic if you just kind of, continue to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about your teaching background that kind of leads you up to your current role you're in now.
So, as you said, I've been teaching for almost 20 years in public schools, mostly older grades, fourth, fifth, third grade, and typically in the general education classroom setting. So, all subjects. I moved to New York City in 2021 and continued teaching all subjects as well. And then all of a sudden, the school I worked at got a federal grant, magnet grant, and our theme was engineering. So my principal at the time put out a job posting asking if anybody was interested in serving in the role of the engineering cluster or specialist teacher. Essentially, just like most public schools have art, music, PE, our school has all of those things, but also engineering that every student pre-K through 5 goes to once a week. So I've been teaching fourth grade, fifth grade, reading, writing, math, science for so many years. I decided that I wanted to do something that I felt my passions were really aligned with, and I applied, and here we are.
So you taught science, reading, writing. Did you have a background in engineering?
I actually don't have a background in engineering. My formal education is all in elementary education, curriculum and instruction, and teacher education. But my background, I guess, which I think is just enough at this stage in the game, really comes from my curiosity and my love of just figuring things out and making things and being curious and creative and problem solving. And I think that is just the right amount of background that you need to be successful in this role.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so talk about making a leap and doing something new with an open role and saying, yes, I'd love to do this. It fits in something that you think you're going to be good at and you can bring and contribute and you're excited to do it. So I think that's a great recipe. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started out? So you got this role. What was step one? How did you get off the ground?
So, step one was I sent an email to my principal, who is incredible. Her support for what we do here and the type of work that she sees as integrative with our magnet school focus really guided it. So, I wasn't sure. I've never done this before. There isn't a textbook. There isn't a New York State curriculum guide for engineering. But I thought, let me see what her vision is. So I went to her office and I said, Miss Hines, what's your vision for this program? And she said, I really just want the kids to have fun. I want them to go to engineering class and I want them to love doing it. And if it helps them become more natural leaders and problem solvers and innovators along the way, then even better. So, as simple as that sounds, it was the first step wasn't like, let me look online and find the best curriculum resource. It was, how do we want this to look? How do we want the students to feel when they come here? To this day, now this is completing the third year of the program. It still is very important. And when we do check in, she's like, everything's going great. The kids are coming up to me asking, why do we only have engineering once a week? So step one was, what is the vision? What do we want this to look like? Do we want it to be a formal space? Do we want it to be a messy space? Do we want it to be tech heavy? Do we want it to be something that integrates problem-based learning, which we have a focus on here at the school? So after we decided that fun was the main thing, we then started to look at what other schools in the area were using for curriculum and reached out to a few different companies and decided that we weren't going to just use one curricular resource and follow that like a calendar, if you will, but try to use it to get ideas as a starting point and then really leading the program with students identifying problems that they see at our school and our community and thinking about how we can structure their learning experiences around that.
Yeah,
So a
fantastic.
lot of the things in this might seem very like a big task to do, but a lot of the things in the beginning, I was using resources that I would find online or the curriculum that was suggested to us from the different companies. But those were always starting points for me that would give me ideas to then create. And I'm so fortunate that the administration of my school supports what I do and the vision, and they do really allow me to have not full control to lead what projects we're doing and what I'm planning. And I just have so much fun creating things based on what the kids love to do and what they see as a need in their community. And I use resources here and there to help me to get ideas from. But I'm learning that, you don't really need this preset curriculum because a lot of times it's just a set of instructions and then materials that you find laying around your house.
Yeah. Amber, has that changed over the 3 years you've been doing this program? You're still kind of being creative and leveraging local resources versus a formal curriculum?
It has not changed at all. I would say I'm using more trash now than in the beginning. When I say trash, I mean recyclable materials.
Yeah.
At first, I was very hesitant because I made the room look messy, and this is engineering. This should be a fancy lab. It should be tech heavy. It should be all these things. And learning more, I realized, well, wow, this is a great tool. We want the student's mindset really to shift from this, here's how to do it. This is the only way. Make this to, I have this, I have this. I want to solve this problem. How can I use what I have to do that? Also, you mentioned the federal magnet grant, which was a great deal of money, but it's limited, right? It only lasts 5 years. And the important part is thinking about how when this magnet grant goes away, which this is our last year, engineering at my school isn't going to go away. So I didn't have all these thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because I needed to think about how I was going to make this sustainable. There's nothing more sustainable than cardboard.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about some of these materials that you repurpose? It sounds like every day, whether that be things you find or recycled materials and how that comes to life in some of the STEAM or engineering projects you're putting together?
Sure. So I a lot of times will ask the custodians in our school to save the paper towel rolls or the paper towel rolls in the bathrooms they'll collect. We use those for things a lot. Cardboard boxes, I collect a lot of times, bottle caps, different anything that you recycle. Now, I'm only one person, so I realized that I was trying to bring in all this stuff. I'm like, wait a second. All you have to do is ask. So I would send out a letter to the families in our community just asking, and you don't you just a simple ask, and no matter where you are, every community, every family, everybody wants to help genuinely, especially when they see things that the kids are doing, and they will send in the most amazing things. I actually just finished up a project with my 4th and 5th grade students where they made marionette puppets,
Hmm.
and this was just something that I saw a few back in October when I was reading a book about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and we were learning about how that actually began as a puppet parade. And I was looking at the puppets, I was like, "Wait, the way they move, wait, that's a system. That's a system. That's engineering. We can make these." And I don't know how to do all these things. I wasn't formally trained in all this. So I, like anybody else, would go on the internet and try to figure it out for myself. So it's a learning experience for me almost every single day that I do this. Even when I've done something before, I I have an idea. I'm like, that looks cool. The kids would love this. Let's try to do it. Uh, So, go online, check out different ideas using AI, using, social media resources. A lot of there's so many ideas there. And then you're going to see grand things that could be intimidating and take a step back and think, okay, I don't have this fancy floral wire and it's kind of expensive, but I have paper clips and I have aluminum foil, and those can be used as the frame for this puppet. And I have popsicle sticks and a power drill that I bring from home, and I can drill holes into this. And I have model magic because we started with Play-Doh, but they realized that Play-Doh was too heavy and it didn't really work well. So we started with paper clips. They built a frame of their puppet character that they wanted. And then they used Model Magic, which is a Crayola brand that a parent donated to the school a couple years ago, of really lightweight modeling clay. They used that to sculpt the body, but some of them also used just aluminum foil. Some of them used newspaper, recycled newspaper, and then masking tape wrapped around it to create the shape. And then they made everything disjointed. So instead of creating a long arm, they made it with the separate parts of it because they learned that in order to make this marionette puppet move in the way that you want it to, you have to break it apart by the joints and then think about how you're going to use your materials to create this movement and how the system works in play for that. So attaching a string from the hand directly to the control sticks at the top and how long it needs to be. And all of this wasn't me saying, okay, you need to make your string X number of inches if you want to make your hand wave. It's, hey, here's some string, scissors. You want to make sure that you have this connection. Go ahead and try. And there's a lot of, man, miss, but then there's, wow, look at this. And they are coming out so incredible. And then we just used everyday items that you find. I'm constantly trying to donate clothes and sheets and textiles and anything that I would normally throw away. I think twice now, like, how could I use it? Could I use this for something? So I'm constantly bringing in big bags of or big suitcases full of things, and they're using it, buttons from things and fabric. And I'm looking over at some of their creations here. Wire mesh that I had from the inside of a blender that they use for a mask. So really at the end of the day, it's important that your mindset shifts. So you're not thinking about how can I create this project that's so fancy and so technical and impressive to how can I use what I have in front of me? A piece of paper, a pencil, to create something that gets kids to think about how engineering works, how design works, how you can use things to be innovative and create really anything. I think it's using what you have. It doesn't have to be anything. You don't need anything pre-made. To be honest, with the magnet grant, I have been fortunate to receive curriculum that we tried out from different companies that was a little pricey, but the students love using masking tape and corrugated cardboard more than anything else. And the learning and imagination and creativity that takes place when you give them these things is really special.
That's fantastic, Amber. I can just imagine the pride that an educator like yourself receives when you see these kids light up and they're so proud of something they built and they can connect it back to concepts that are happening in the real world, right? That's just fantastic. Have you formally partnered with any local organizations or libraries or anything like that? Or is this just you being creative and what can I do?
So, yes, I actually have partnered up with a couple. There's a very special organization in Brooklyn called Coco NYC, and they are a nonprofit organization that works with students in different capacities. So they allow field trips, they do insight things, and they also do residencies with schools where they'll send teaching artists to an after school program, or it could be an in school session. And their mission, I'm not doing any justice to the work they do by this little explanation, but they really try to make STEAM sustainable. We've taken field trips there where it's just a lot. It's a dirt lot and there's wooden scraps and things like that. And the kids are building life-size playground equipment based on what they know about simple machines, and they're using power tools. And we have been partnered with them for the last 3 years for some enrichment after school programs, and a lot of what they bring and do, so I'm in that setting with them. I work with their teaching artists. I've actually used a lot of their ideas in the classroom with what I'm doing because, again, their focus is on sustainability and how we can use things that are going to be thrown away. For example, old electronics. So they have a program called Destroy and Construct, where the students get outdated machines, printers, blenders, things that we do check and make sure are safe for kids and that don't have to be destroyed a certain way depending on the school district's requirements. And we give them screwdrivers and power tools and sledgehammers and safety goggles, and we tell them to take it apart and see what kind of pieces they can find in there that they could then use to create their own invention. So not only do I see examples of different projects and ideas that they create, but mostly I see strategies and resources and ways of thinking that I can also then recreate in the classroom. So I've been really lucky to be able to work with them. We also have a lot of local organizations that have this STEM and sustainability focus that we've been able to take field trips to. That also gives me ideas. Really, just the world around me and these partnerships have been phenomenal as far as sparking the ideas. Also, because of this STEM heavy push that you see in a lot of school districts across the country, the district that I am in has formed a professional learning community. So it, it takes a different shape each year, but essentially it's like-minded educators across similar grade bands, and we meet monthly and we just talk about what is working, what's not working, what are you using that you can share with others. And I've never felt like I'm in this space where I have to be reliant on my own research and my own learning and my own skill set to create, because so many other people have already done it. So having these partnerships and having this professional learning community really has helped. But if there's ever somebody that doesn't have that, the internet is a great place. Social media, Facebook groups in particular, there's so many different resources that are free that can give you great ideas. Another thing, I have 2 young nephews that love STEM in every capacity, and they receive different subscriptions, or they have things that they're doing in their schools, and they tell me about things that they like, and I see, I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool. I could do something similar to this with a popsicle stick and a rubber band."
Fantastic. Really great. So you've been doing this for a few years, Amber. Where do you see yourself going? How do you continue to evolve this? And what are your thoughts on any new ideas or directions you might go?
That's a great question. So, I definitely see this getting more, I don't want to say bigger and better, but more streamlined over, the next few years. Not in a sense of I want to have my own scope and sequence preset every year, because it really is important to me that what we're doing is based on the students' interests and the needs that they're identifying, and it's really student led. But where I see this going is similar to where it is now, but even better in a sense that I'm still continuing to learn more about it. and getting better. And as we are teaching this new mindset and design thinking and skill set to our students as young as age 3, they are shifting in their thinking. So I'm able to step back from this role of teacher and really become facilitator where there isn't a curriculum that I'm necessarily using, but hey, what problem do you guys notice? What's happening? And they're really becoming the ones that are creating the content based on this mindset and skill set that they have to become innovators and problem solvers. Definitely don't ever want to stop working with children. I know after so many years, people say, "What's next? What's next?" And I just have so much fun. And I think that that's another thing that's very important, that the kids see that I have so much fun with it. And that makes them have so much fun with it, that I don't see myself ever switching into a role where I'm completely removed from working with students, because I think that is the part, being this practitioner in the trenches with it, that makes me, continue to grow and get better. However, I do see this um, shift in schools where we have this focus on design thinking and engineering and innovation and STEM, because I have been so, I think, intentional about designing things that are really meaningful and fun. I definitely see myself in different areas where I can help, motivate or inspire or just give ideas to other teachers that kind of want to do the same thing, but it's them against a budget.
Yeah, indeed. Well, this has been a fantastic time for you to share your excitement and I'll say your innovation of approaching this, right? And obviously I can just imagine it's just contagious for the kids to give them excitement to learn and all of that. And I know we've touched upon a few different areas, but how you got started, some of the challenges, partners. Is there anything else that you'd love to just kind of leave people with?
I think, and I definitely made this mistake myself going into it. To be completely honest, I'm like, engineering, we're going to be doing robotics, we're going to have robots, we're going to do all these things. It's really important for teachers or anybody that wants to see themselves in this space to not think of this as something that has to be so tech heavy, and not think of this as something that has to have a material list, but really just starting with a problem. And you don't even have to have a single material. But if you start with a problem and ask kids how they would solve it on their own, that's the place that you have to start, not from this big, heavy, intimidating space that we think we should have, but really from this problem.
It's amazing. What a great perspective. Thank you so much, Amber. It's awesome. I love it. Well, this time goes pretty quick together. And I just can't thank you enough. And, we've talked just a couple times, but every time that we've chatted, I've just been so excited with your enthusiasm and obviously like other educators that I speak with, just your energy, your thoughtfulness, your caring, and I'll say just your raw effort to better kids, to prepare them for what seems like an increasingly tech filled world.
Mm.
Right? And that way of thinking, what you talked about, that design thinking, that problem solving, that being curious, asking questions. I just can't thank you enough. And I'm sure everyone else thanks you too, Amber. So really thank you for being a guest here today. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for this work that you're doing in the space that you're creating. It's really going to help the field and lend itself to so many great opportunities for people all over.
Love it. Love it, Amber. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you again. All the
Thank
best.
you.